Tonight, a horrifying start to the new year after a man drives through a crowded Bourbon Street in New Orleans, killing at least 15, injuring dozens more.
There's a lot of bodies laying on the ground.
This huge, loud impact, and then the people screaming.
This man was trying to run over as many people as he possibly could.
The FBI now investigating the attack as an act of terrorism, and why they don't believe the driver acted alone.
We will be relentless, and we will do everything that it takes to render real justice.
Plus, a cyber truck explodes in front of the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas, with authorities calling it a possible act of terror. The CBS Evening News starts now. Good evening, everyone. I'm Major Garrett in for Nora. We begin with the intense search for the person or persons who authorities say helped a suspected terrorist pull off that horrific New Year's attack in the heart of New Orleans. Just hours into the new year, officials say the attacker, flying an ISIS flag from a rented pickup truck, plowed into a crowd of revelers on Bourbon Street, killing at least 15 people, wounding dozens more. Moments later, this assailant was killed in a gun battle with police that left 2 officers wounded. Officials say explosives were found in the vehicle and other parts of the French Quarter, a world-famous party district. The attacker has been identified as 42-year-old Shamsuddin Jabbar, a U.S. Army veteran from Texas. Officials do not believe he was acting alone and have asked the public's help in tracking down additional suspects. The attack happened less than a mile from the site of tonight's now postponed college football playoff game. New Orleans is also set to host the Super Bowl and Mardi Gras in the coming weeks. We have a team of correspondents covering every angle of this attack, beginning with CBS's Omar Villafranca in New Orleans. Omar, good evening.
Good evening, Major. We are here in the French Quarter, known for the music and the celebration, but now it is an active federal crime scene. And this mayhem started early this morning right behind me on the corner of Canal and world-famous Bourbon Street, when the driver of a pickup actually went around a police vehicle that was blocking Bourbon Street and started running over people in the French Quarter. We want to warn you, some of the video you're about to see is disturbing. Celebrations quickly turned into deadly chaos on Bourbon Street in what's now being investigated as an act of terrorism. Just after 3 a.m., a man driving a white pickup plowed into a crowd of New Year's revelers, killing at least 15 people and injuring 35 others.
The scene was just horrific. Being a Marine Corps vet, it felt like, back in Iraq again.
You just heard this squeal and like the rev of an engine, and then this huge, loud impact, and then the people screaming.
The driver, identified as 42-year-old Shamsuddin Jabbar, was killed in a shootout with police shortly afterwards, wounding 2 officers. Jabbar was wearing camo pants and body armor.
This man was trying to run over as many people as he possibly could. He was hell-bent on creating the carnage and the damage that he did.
The FBI, now leading the investigation, says Jabbar was carrying an ISIS flag, had weapons, and at least 2 potential improvised explosive devices. Similar devices were also found in the area. Jabbar was a U.S.-born citizen, a resident of Texas, and an Army veteran. Authorities are questioning whether he acted alone. FBI Special Agent Alethea Duncan.
We do not believe that Jabbar was solely responsible. We are aggressively running down every lead, including those of his known associates.
The vehicle used in the attack was a rented electric Ford F-150 Lightning. It weighed more than 6,000 pounds and was accelerating to a high rate of speed when it collided with the crowd.
I just don't understand how such evil can exist.
Jabbar dodged barricades to target people. According to the city, construction has been underway to bolster its pedestrian barrier system. Meanwhile, authorities are also investigating a fire that broke out at an Airbnb the attacker was staying at, saying it is related. Jeff Gonzalez lives nearby.
And I noticed that the smell in the air was what we thought was fireworks.
And as more information emerges about the attack, we're learning more about the victims. So far, those identified include Nikira Cheyenne Dido, Nicole Perez, Tiger Besh, and Reggie Hunter. We spoke to Hunter's cousin, Sherelle Robinson Jackson.
Right after the holidays, this hurts. This is terrible. And we want as much justice for him as we possibly can get. His whole life ahead of him.
The French Quarter was busy last night, not only because it was New Year's Eve, but because there are thousands of Notre Dame and Georgia fans in town for the Sugar Bowl, which was supposed to be played tonight, is now postponed and will be played tomorrow while the city tries to cope with what happened. Major?
Cope indeed. Omar Villafranca, thank you. We're learning much more tonight about the 42-year-old U.S. Army veteran who police say was behind the wheel of that pickup truck. CBS's Jason Allen has been digging into the attacker's past and tracked down his home address in Houston. Jason, what can you tell us?
Major, good evening. We have been watching a SWAT team from the Harris County Sheriff's Office here in Houston. They've taken up a position here just on the edge of a neighborhood. That neighborhood is where one of the most recent addresses is for Shamsuddin Jabbar. The home they're focused on is down a road. It's about a dozen houses and trailers, a single road blocked off by a gate, all tucked into an industrial zone here on the north side of the city. There was no law enforcement here until several hours ago, and several deputies arrived and then blocked off the road leading to the neighborhood. And at the time, deputies told us they weren't evacuating anyone else here, that there was no danger that they were aware of, but that they were just securing the scene. The CBS News has learned Jabbar was born in Beaumont, Texas. That's about 100 miles east of here. He served in the Army. He was deployed in Afghanistan. And Jabbar graduated from Georgia State University, paying for a computer science degree with the GI Bill. But in recent years, in videos posted online, he described himself as a real estate agent who was living here in the Houston area. As we've been watching SWAT team members, they have been relaxed, cautious, flying drones above the neighborhood at times, but they've set up a pretty sizable command center indicating they could be here well into the evening. Major?
On the scene for us, Jason Allen, thank you. Tonight, President Biden spoke about the investigation from Camp David after huddling with his national security team. Details on that from CBS's Scott MacFarlane at the White House.
After a day of briefings on the attack in Louisiana from the CIA, the FBI, and national security officials, President Biden addressed the nation late today.
To all the people of New Orleans who are grieving today, I want you to know I grieve with you. Our nation grieves with you. We're going to stand with you as you mourn and as you heal in the weeks to come.
The attack in New Orleans from a man driving a truck with an ISIS flag comes amid an aggressive offensive against ISIS by the U.S. after the fall of the Assad regime in Syria, with more than 100 ISIS targets struck in the past month, though no group has claimed responsibility for today's attack. And it comes ahead of a series of major security events in Washington that law enforcement are now focused on. D.C. police told CBS News they've implemented a more visible police presence, effective today.
Both the January 6th electoral count at the Capitol and the January 20th inauguration of President-elect Trump are designated national special security events with sweeping checkpoints, closures, and barricades throughout the nation's capital. Major?
Scott MacFarlane, thank you. There are many questions tonight, some of them about the safety barriers in the French Quarter of New Orleans that apparently failed to stop this particular attack. For more on that, we turn to CBS's Nicole Skanga.
The deadliest vehicle ramming attack in U.S. history struck a bustling French Quarter, with a street security upgrade underway but not yet completed.
Whatever the problem was, is going to be solved.
Police positioned a cruiser along Bourbon Street after the city temporarily removed protective barriers designed to block traffic.
Where we did have a car there, we had barriers there, we had officers there, and they still got around.
Surveillance video shows the truck speeding onto the sidewalk.
We did indeed have a plan, but the terrorist defeated it.
Today's tragedy comes after a 2017 city memo raised concerns about a vulnerable Bourbon Street, with bollards or security posts routinely malfunctioning.
The New Orleans Police Department, of course, deemed them inefficient because they did not operate the way that they were intended to do.
A deadly car ramming attack on a German Christmas market last month prompted the Department of Homeland Security to warn police departments nationwide of the threat of lone offenders during the holiday season, citing simple tactics like firearms or vehicle ramming. Tom O'Connor is a retired FBI agent.
Just how difficult is it for law enforcement to prevent against these kinds of vehicle ramming attacks?
It's very difficult to prevent all possibilities for a ramming attack. Law enforcement does their very best to secure areas and secure events, but you can't have 24/7, 365 lockdown of a city.
Nicole joins us now. Nicole, what are New Orleans authorities saying about the status of those promised security upgrades?
Major officials today vowed that those downtown street security upgrades will be completed in time for the city to host two big upcoming events, the Super Bowl and Mardi Gras.
Nicole Skanga, thank you very much. CBS correspondent Katie Weiss was there on the scene in the moments after the attack. Here's her account of the horrifying aftermath.
As a new to New Orleans resident, I went down to historic Bourbon Street with my husband to celebrate the new year, never imagining that happy would turn to horror so quickly. We first heard the commotion and immediately stepped into a bar to take cover. I watched from a second-story window as first responders ran toward the danger. A street previously jammed with people, then only filled with the injured and dead.
There's 12 people dead.
Partygoers were now prisoners in different bars. I waited with dozens of others, still not knowing what exactly happened.
There was a car that went through the crowd?
Hit a bunch of people, hit that, got out, started shooting.
I met Jessica from Mississippi, who comes here every year for her anniversary. She said her husband was hit by the truck.
Right there in front of the door, a bunch of people started screaming, and my husband shoved me.
In the chaos, we all felt like we were in it together, wondering if the danger was over.
There was bodies all down there.
Before long, we were rushed out and away from the scene, where I could fully see the harrowing nature of the chaos. Jessica says she won't be back next year.
Now, just within the last couple of hours, I spoke with a New Orleans City Council person who visited the two police officers who were injured in this attack. He says those heroes are in stable condition tonight and they're resting. Major?
Heroes indeed. Katie Weiss, thank you. Now to a developing story in Las Vegas. Police there are investigating a possible terror attack involving a Tesla Cybertruck that exploded into a fireball today outside the Trump International Hotel, killing at least one person. The blast is prompting responses from Elon Musk and the president-elect's son. CBS's Andres Gutierrez has the details.
The Tesla Cybertruck exploded and burst into flames this morning just outside the doors of the Trump International Hotel.
It still looks like mortars from like a firework.
People at the hotel and on the sidewalk had to scramble to safety as fire crews tried to douse the flames.
The fact that this was a Cybertruck limited the damage. It had most of the blast go up through the truck and out.
Police say the person in the Cybertruck died in the blast and at least 7 people suffered minor injuries.
It was like a firework. It was popping sound, bang sound, and a lot of sparks flying.
Police moved quickly to evacuate the 64-story hotel. The president-elect's son, Eric Trump, expressed gratitude for emergency crews' quick response. Elon Musk, the Tesla CEO who will be leading a Trump administration advisory commission, says he has the whole Tesla team investigating the explosion and posted, "We have never seen anything like this." Authorities tell CBS News investigators are trying to determine whether fireworks were responsible and whether this was an intentional act. Major?
Andres Gutierrez, thank you. Millions of Americans are bracing for a prolonged blast of Arctic air. We'll get the forecast next. Temperatures across much of the country are expected to take a polar plunge as we begin the new year, and powerful wind gusts are whipping up fire danger in the west. Albert Ramon, chief meteorologist of CBS News Chicago, is tracking all of it for us. Albert, good evening.
Good evening, Major. Coldest air of the season arrives late this week. It's even colder next week. Wait till you see these temperatures. Tonight, though, it's lake effect snow, and it's heavy coming off of eastern sections of Lake Ontario and Lake Erie. Forecast models showing 2 to 4 feet. It's going to be possible late this week into the weekend for places like western New York, if you're in and around Oswego and also Syracuse. The Arctic air is starting to move its way into the northern plains. We're going to see additional waves of Arctic air move in as the week goes on. And next week, 30-degree below zero temperatures possible when it comes to wind chills in the northern areas of the plains and also upper Midwest. Temperatures for tomorrow, they're going to be in the 30s in Chicago, falling in the 20s by the weekend. It gets even colder next week. Take a look at Kansas City at 11 by Monday. It's in the 40s by the time we head towards Tuesday as we head towards the south in places like Atlanta, below freezing starting this weekend into next week as we head towards New York City and D.C. Snow is also on the way and a chance of severe weather on Sunday in the south. Major?
Albert Ramon, thank you. Eye on America is next. How farmers are staying ahead of climate change. With apologies to Bob Dylan, the answer is blowing in the wind. For many American farmers, 2025 is not expected to be a good year. Researchers at the University of Missouri estimate profits for farmers will decline for a third straight year. But in our Eye on America tonight, CBS's Janet Shamlian shows us what some farmers in Iowa are now putting in the ground to offset some of those losses.
For Evie Howe, this is a window of opportunity.
I have my very own wind direction machine out there.
In fact, she has 3 wind turbines on her 160-acre farm in central Iowa. As farmers ready their fields, there's a new cash crop working the land year-round. Wind turbines.
How much money do the turbines bring in each year?
My payment is $35,000 this year, and it keeps going up with inflation.
That's made the difference between keeping the family farm and losing it for struggling farmers, as agriculture becomes more unstable due to climate change.
How many days is it windy out here?
Practically every day, I would say.
When her husband Wallace died a decade ago, farm debts lived on.
How much debt did you have?
I had $350,000.
And now you have?
67.
How did you get that paid off?
With my wind turbine money.
Each turbine takes up less than an acre, leaving plenty of farmable land.
2 decades ago, there were only a few hundred wind turbines in Iowa. Now there are more than 6,000 in this state, and they turn out about 60% of the state's energy.
U.S. wind energy, clean and renewable, avoids carbon emissions equivalent to taking 73 million cars off the road. Nationwide, turbines power about 10% of the U.S. electric grid. You might call attorney Kathy Law the conduit for Iowa Wind. The daughter and wife of farmers, she's helped place almost half the state's turbines.
From my farm background, I think I can talk their talk and have conversations with the landowners that are interested in having wind turbines on their properties.
Both women have fielded complaints from critics who say the turbines are a threat to wildlife, ruin the view, and that this is too noisy.
What do you say to the naysayers?
Nobody's requiring them to put that on their farms or on their land. We want to be able to put turbines on our land and receive those benefits.
They need to be perfect.
Evie Haupt is still old-fashioned in some ways. But on power, the 75-year-old is progressive.
I look at it as progress. I think we can't stand in the way of progress.
The vista has changed from decades ago, a view she says suits her.
I need to give up 1 or 2 acres of my land so that I can generate a commodity that we all use every day, and we all want to use more of it every day. So I'm happy to be able to be a part of that generation.
Perspective, focused on the future. For Eye on America, I'm Janet Shamlian in Wellsburg, Iowa.
And we will be right back.
If you can't watch the CBS Evening News, you can listen. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
New Orleans, among its many gifts to America, gave us jazz. Tempo and improvisation fuel jazz and give New Orleans its unique round-the-clock vibration and spirit, ingredients of a world-class New Year's celebration. That joy was pierced by an act of terrorism. A pickup truck became a homicidal weapon, and a great city awoke to numbing grief. This was the most deadly vehicle ramming event in American history. City leaders made a pledge to themselves and all who might wonder. Terror has stilled, but will not silence the resilient musical heart of New Orleans. And that is tonight's CBS Evening News. For Nora O'Donnell, I'm Major Garrett. Good night.